Okay, so let's go ahead and dwell into the code. So we need to generate this error and then we need to handle it. So we're gonna create an artificial error for the sake of the demo, and then later on it's going to disappear in a magical fashion. So the first thing that we need to take a look at is app.component.ts. So let's go into that and have a look around and see what we need to change. So first of all, is this correct? Yep, it is. Just want to check that anyway. Going down, you can see that we have some new things here. So the very first thing that you can notice is the create ACC uh, error, and that's a private variable of a type string. Now this will be a variable where we will store the error messages or a message. ACC limit, so account limit, we will use this variable in order to in order to specify how many accounts do we want to have on our server at max. And this part here is familiar from before. This is just the create ACC method. Every time that this method is called, the string for the where the error is to be stored, the current instance of it is initialized to nothing, to null, assuming that we're assuming straight away that there is no error, and then we're performing a checkup. So if the accounts dot length, so if the length of the accounts array is greater than the account limit, so if the look, this is the array, the accounts array. So it has one element, it has the second element, and if we implement a third element, it's going to be equal or greater to the ACC limit variable here, which is 3. Therefore, this entire expression within the if statement will be evaluated to false, and hence this part of the code will not execute. Rather, instead, the else part of the code will execute. So if this is true, go ahead and execute this. If it's false, go ahead and do this. So this logic here, this is nothing new. We know it from before, except it's placed within an if statement now. And down below, the else statement logic is a little bit new. It says this create ACC error. So we're using basically this same string, and then we are populating it with information. It says only, and then plus, and then we're taking the account limit. And then in addition to that, we are simply saying accounts allowed. So only 3 accounts allowed. And this here is basically the string that you keep on seeing on the site when we exceed the maximum number of accounts. So, okay, so we have 3, and there you go. Creating error, only 3 accounts allowed. Okay, so the rest of it is the same. In the follow-up tutorial, we will be adding more things there, but for the time being, I just want to go through a certain amount of I want to process a certain amount of information with you. And then we're gonna add some additional things here as well. Oops, this is the GitHub configuration. So next up, we need to go into the app component.html. And here, we didn't actually add any additional lines. Rather, instead, we've just added this part here. So we are performing property binding, and we're binding the create ACC error from the parent component to the error of the child component. Basically, that's all that we're doing there. Now, if we go into the ACC form ts component.ts, and there are a few things that we need to do here before I get, well, actually I can go down and show you the error. So you see it says here at input, and then it says error of type string. So this is directly related to this error here. However, since we are expecting the parent, so the app component, to populate this error, and as you can see, we have a logic of populating it here. We don't actually need to write anything additional here in regard to this string like we needed to write before. As you can see, it says here output and then created, and then an event emitter. And if you remember before, we also had input and there was like a longer line here, etc. But since now the parent is populating the string variable error, we don't actually need to do anything else. We just need to mark it with a decorator for input, and that's it. We're good to go. We need to import. We need to import input to the top here. Actually, it's already here. So just import. Just write input here in the import statement so that we actually have it. And now we need to go into the account form.component.html. And yep, there we go. So this is the new part, only these three lines here. And we're using the ngIf statement, and we're checking the validity of the error string. Well, kind of stupid way to this kind of stupid thing to say. Basically, if the error string is empty, that will mean this part of the code will exist and it will happen. If the no, the other way around. Sorry, if it's empty, this will be null. So the value will be null. It will be 0. Therefore, 0 is always evaluated as false. And since 0 is false, this part of the code will never have happened. It's going to be gone. So if there are no errors, if the length of the string is 0, this will be 0, and ngIf will evaluate that as false because 0 stands for false, and this part of the code will not be executed. However, if there is an error message, if the error string is populated by an error message, that will be evaluated to true, hence this portion of the code will execute. It says, this is from the Bootstrap, alert, alert, danger, the colors on the buttons, something like that. I've explained that before. And then we're just bolding. Strong tags means that we're bolding. It says creating error. So we're just placing this into bold text. And then we're adding to that the error string. So we're pulling the value of the error string and we're placing it here within the HTML code with the curly brackets. And that is how we get what is written out onto the screen. It says creating error, and then here only 3 accounts allowed. This is the string part. Only 3 accounts allowed, and creating error is basically just the bold text from HTML, but the string is pulled from elsewhere. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bid you farewell here, and we shall see each other in the follow-up tutorial where we will expand on this code.